because we'll get into. I think we're filming now. Is that what we're doing? Okay, we got it. Okay, perfect.
There you go.
But we'll get into the introduction. Well, we'll get into what I was gonna say actually in just a second. But that's why I really wanted to have you on, is because like obviously we met literally just like last week, I believe.
Yeah, in the halls.
Yeah, in the halls at Bentall Mall. And I just like loved your energy and just like the style of the shop and I don't know, every time, like, I'm not going to lie, because I work in that area, of course, because I wouldn't have gone by if I didn't work in the area. And I just remember, like, the first time that I went there, you weren't there, but there was a few ladies that were just, like, making these sandwiches and just so much energy and love. And people just, like, I feel like they know you guys really well. And I'm like, I'm going to try the sandwich spot. And it was absolutely amazing. Like, out of everything that's in that little food court, like, you guys are hands down, like,
it is different.
It's like, oh my God, you got a white spot. You got, like, like a little Chinese thing. Don't get me wrong. I love their onion rings, but like when you're trying to cut, you don't want to be eating onion rings.
It's tough. No, I go to the gym 5:30 every morning.
5:30 every morning?
Yep. There's a gym right downstairs, which is going to be moving soon, and I'm going to have to go somewhere else. But when you get into that routine, and I wasn't always like that, like the dirty 20s and the 30s.
We're going to get into that. That's okay.
But you get to a point where you're like, things are starting to like fall to the ground, and you can't get up a flight of stairs comfortably without losing your breath. Okay. So I had to, with due diligence, take care of that. So pre-pandemic, start hitting the gym, and then I really went for it pandemic styles. And I never closed, which was brutal, but it was quite an education in stamina and knowing either you give it your all or you're gone, you know, and gone isn't an option. Until they show me the door, that's not an option.
Yeah. When was that moment when it hit you when you realized it's like, I need to start working out? Like, when did you kind of did you have a moment, or was there something you did and then you're like, oh my God, like. Yeah.
And it was at work. My wrists have started to get bad. And that happens. I mean, if you work with your hands, you work in a kitchen, and I mean, I've got my dad's hands, you know, and they're not going to be great when I'm 80, but they'll be able to do some pretty amazing things when I'm 80. That sounds gross, but you know what I mean. And I started to drop things at work, and I would have to go into an under refrigerator, and getting up, as we all do, you're like, ugh, all the sounds come out, and I'm like, okay, this shouldn't be that difficult, you know. And I'm standing on brick all day, so 10 hours on a brick floor. If you're really having a hard time getting the carcass home, you got to start doing something. So I did, and it's been great.
I'm happy for you.
It was so good. I know it's like talking to a fellow cult member, but it's like, it's good, you know, and kept coming up from the gym all drippy, and contractors walking around, and I'm holding my running shoes, and they're like, she is crazy, you know, and you're like, yes.
But you need to be a bit crazy sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're happy at the end of the day, that's all that matters, honestly.
And it also cuts down the drinking too, which is easy to get into.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's great. So what we'll do is I gotta stop doing this, honestly. But I keep saying that every time. Sorry, every listeners.
Sorry, what are we doing now?
I think we're recording.
Okay.
Cool. So maybe you can just tell us, you know, who you are, like what you do, and then we'll just talk about kind of like your childhood, you living here in Vancouver, and like slowly transitioning into like your business.
Can I just ask, where are you from?
I'm from Vancouver.
Okay.
That's a good question, because I don't think anybody knows.
There's like 5 of us. Where are you from? Kelowna. It's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, my family's from France, and they immigrated here, and so I doubt they're watching, but like in 1988 or something, and my dad's a chef. Yeah, my dad's a chef. Worked in multiple restaurants. Worked at the cannery.
Oh yeah.
He was the executive chef for the cannery at the time. And then just got into food. Just started this little project.
Well, it's in your DNA.
Yeah, but I'm not a good cook. Like it's not yet. Like, okay. I made it a goal this year to start cooking a little bit more. I've been cooking some steaks at like 5 a.m. around 6, like after my workouts.
People. Sorry.
And but yeah, so maybe you can tell us, like, introduce yourself, and then we can just get into it. That's okay.
Born here, Susan Kickert. Born here. I told myself I wouldn't say
It's okay. I'm gonna say it. I'm working on it.
It's a bad habit.
It's okay.
Went to Emily Carr, and my father was always interested in investing in something downtown. His father's dream was to have a food place. My grandfather, who I never met, but he was a bartender at the Hotel Van, originally from Holland. They landed in Montreal, and my grandfather was like, "Fuck, my sons are not learning French before English."
Okay.
He was really upset about it. And so he came to Vancouver, found a shack of a house, which is still a shack of a house, and within a year moved them all out here. 5 sons. And his dream was to have something downtown. And eventually I sort of befriended a woman who would come down to Granville Island because I worked at Granville Island. And she was kind of hard to deal with. She was like the Jack Nicholson character in As Good as It Gets or whatever, one of those films. And he's impossible to deal with. She wasn't that bad. But one day she came in and said, I have to sell my business because she had a seizure situation happen one day at work. And her doctor said, you shouldn't be doing this anymore. And so I went and checked out her shop, and Dad was like, that's an actually pretty good investment. So we went for it. And my brother was involved in the beginning. And then he wasn't involved because it wasn't his thing. So then I just kind of kept going.
Yeah. And so let's go back a little bit before that. Tell us a little bit about like you as like a child. Like, you know, were you someone that was like adventurous with food, or were you more like, I know you talked about like going to art school like eventually, or do follow like an arts degree or something like that. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about like your childhood and like growing up here in Vancouver for people that don't know? Because I was only born in 1997, so yeah. I'm sure there's some stories here to be shared.
I was born in 70. Okay. And my parents knew each other because my dad's mom babysat my mom's little brother in the same neighborhood. So my mom would always come up the hill and, you know, pick up her little brother. And honestly, I think how they both dated a bit, but they got married in their early 20s. And I think they both wanted out of their family situations. That was a bigger thing. That was kind of the main thing. There was probably a lot of love there, and there was probably a lot of like, yay us. But growing up, I never really heard about that because they split. And I was born in 70, my brother was born in 73, and in 76, it all went. I don't have a relationship with my brother anymore, but I don't think he really remembers any time that was good between my mom and my dad. But every single year was completely different than the next. So I've got crazy like Sesame Street, Electric Company, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood memories of this year was like this, and then this year was like this, and with all of that change, you kind of find happy wherever you find it, you know? And we lived in almost every part of the city. So we got to go to different places to eat all around the city. So seeing it change over the years is interesting. But having to find your own space in that didn't seem that difficult because it's changing all the time. I've seen it change all the time. I don't want to be like anybody else. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody else is doing what I'm doing now. Now is a great version of what I've been trying to do for a long time. But I had to learn from a lot of mistakes, and that's on me. And obviously that involves other people, you know, working with the wrong people, maybe having people around a bit too long that wasn't a good fit. But you're always searching for something that's good, you know?
Right.
But it's ended up being okay.
Yeah.
So far.
What are obviously I'm sure there's so many different lessons that you've learned, and I mean I'm sure you've had a long journey to get to where you are now with maybe personal stuff.
Feels long now, right now.
But what, like you mentioned, like, you know, working with the wrong people. Like, what would you like? How can you tell us about that example? Like, do you feel comfortable sharing that at all?
Yeah, but because
if you don't mind.
I mean, it's my mistakes, and you have and for me, I mean, if you're doing something on your own, and I had support of my father for the longest time, but he more sheltered and kept things at bay. So I didn't really know what the big picture was most of the time. He was a dad, and I think he was trying to compensate for a lot of turmoil when we were younger. In fact, we all know that's what he was doing. Like, we all know that's what he was doing. And he tried to help us out as much as he possibly could, but he kept a lot of things undisclosed. And he passed away of dementia. And it was awful. To see a parent melt is sad, but it's offensive. And you see a pillar of your life just erode in front of you with all of these experiences and memories. And I'm like, there goes my dad. Wow. And he did all the books. He did everything. So within 1 year, I had to do it. Awful and the best thing ever. It's amazing. It's amazing the liberation that comes from that. When you have enough help that you're like, oh, I don't have to do all that. Ooh, that's not entirely good. That'll take you right down eventually. So now I'm in better shape now than I've ever been, even through COVID, even through everything else. because you ultimately have to learn all those bad mistakes in those relationships. Having people work in the shop that weren't great, but they were very, very reliable, I got sucked into that. Not great for the shop. You know, I've had a couple people over the years for long periods of time. I lost other staff because they were there. That's a horrible feeling. I did it because they were very reliable. I needed that. And I guess some people would say, well, that's ultimate. Like, you needed what you needed. But at the expense of losing so many good people, really good people, that's on me. Mm-hmm. That's really unfortunate. And you can see it in other places. You can see it in other workplaces. But this is personal. I did that. I let that happen. It's really great right now. Yeah. We're active and we're feeling really responsible for each other.
That's great.
It's good.
Yeah.
It is good. But I think we've all kind of pulled out of something together. So that kind of helped in a way.
Yeah.
A lot of perspective.
Yeah. And is it only women that are working there? Because I've never seen a man while I was going there. I've
had a few guys over the years, but I've got this
It's okay. You can.
I've got this running scenario. First of all, the counters are what they are. You gotta. It's easier for chicks usually because you can reach into those. Those counters are not ergonomically designed. It's hard. If you're doing that all day long and you're top heavy, like broad shoulders and whatnot, it kills dudes. They're like, I can't do this anymore. My back is killing me. I get it. 100%. We're based more down here, so we just kind of pivot. But the big thing I say, like, you could have somebody in the shop and something goes wrong, and a guy turns around and goes, well, what do you want? I've only been here a year. And a girl will turn around and say, oh, I'm so sorry. It's my second day. I should know. Yeah. And that's not great either way, but it's kind of a running gag that you just kind of like feel after a while. Right. I've tried a few guys out over the years, but physically it's like it doesn't really work out.
Yeah, it's like it's not something you'd think of reaching out for those small things, but I guess eventually it would just add up, and then I guess you'd just get sore and tired. And
yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. I've had like really full-figured petite women who make it. You'd think you're like, wow, good for you. They're like, this is easy. I can do this, no problem. Taller women, it does get to them after a point.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Yeah. So let's go from like the beginning. So like when you guys purchased the spot, like was it already like a restaurant? Was it already a thing, or did you guys completely flip it? And like tell us as well, like what is your business? Like what do you do? Obviously I want to let you share because it's your business, and maybe there's some things that I don't know about it too. So
yeah. Originally, when we walked in, it was a woman named Irene Reynolds. She owned it. And she was interesting because she would start restaurants. She opened up Pastel's restaurants way back in the day. She brought Caesar salad to Vancouver. And I'm like, I doubt it was you, but maybe. And she had little outposts all over, like little cafes all over Vancouver. She could start anything, but she couldn't hang on to them. And she had a business partner that pretty much bought her out overnight. So she was done. So the only location she had left was the one that I got. And she had to sell for medical reasons, she says. So what it is now, what it's evolved into is we do giant wraps and sandwiches and homemade entrees and soups and baked goods and anything else I can come up with. In my lease, I have broad spectrum because she had a menu that demanded that. So that's just kind of carried over. It's a great thing. The only thing it isn't is licensed.
Okay.
If the city started treating us like grown-ups, wouldn't that be great? To be able to offer somebody something in their coffee. Right. That would be great. But
right, like we meant when we talked about last time. Yeah.
I wish I could put something in your coffee for you, but I can't. That would be great.
Yeah. So how does it work? So do you tell us a little bit more? Do you just do a deposit on a spot and then you just work your way up? How does that work?
You have to be approved. I'm in a controlled. I mean, it's public access, but it's private property, just like a mall. So there's property management, and they have to meet you, and they have to vet you, and they have to look at a lot of banks wouldn't listen to us, and Dad finally found someone who would listen to us, and it cost $160,000 back in the day, wow. which you'll never get back, ever, with the markets as they are. And over the years, I've had a few people offer to buy the spot, and 2 different management companies. First one was like, well, then where would we eat? Because you wouldn't be there. I'm like, this is not a reason. This is you. I mean, come on, guys. And the second one, he didn't want to have the next people move in because it was poke cuisine. And he goes, and didn't like this guy. And there was a sushi place down the hall. And he goes, well, I can't have 2 fish places in one area. And I went, you just described like bustling areas of Vancouver. Like when there's really good sushi somewhere, there are 4 really good sushi places. Like why would you have them spread out all over? You go to the focus. And he wouldn't do it. Crazy. And she's now a TikTok star.
Okay.
Jeannie Weenie or something. I think that's her.
Familiar, actually.
Yeah.
Jeannie in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's now a TikTok girl. Good for her.
Is she just posting like recipes and what she's making?
No, there's one called Tiffany Cooks or something, and I've seen her.
Oh, I've heard that name before.
Yeah. She goes, look at that, and I'm like, I like her. That's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So when you guys like bought the place, like tell us a little bit more. Like, what did you have to do to it? Like, was there already a kitchen set up? Like, was it a complete flip? Like, let's get into like setup. Like,
I was 24.
24
with my brother, who is an artist, literally an artist, but at heart he's an artist as well. And this wasn't his gig. I mean. He's 3 years younger than me, and I was 24. I mean, this, honestly, it was like Dad buys a place, and we walk in as like, doink. We had no idea. And she was there for 3 months, and then we figured we'd figure it out. What?
You can say it. It's fine.
It's ridiculous. It's amazing, you know? And being a young woman as well, I wasn't kind to myself either. I had a lot of issues. So eventually my brother wasn't with the organization anymore, and that was messy. And then it was just, okay, now I'm just doing this. But when we got it, it was handmade cabinets with compressors hanging underneath them, and that was a refrigerator, and giant sweaty ice bins that she would put inserts into and put like 2-inch. And you're like, if you saw it today, you'd be like, are we in like a tree planting camp? Like, what is this? And the mall itself was like a brown brick floor with mirrored ceilings with globe lights on the top. And you're like, wow. Very Bob Newhart, if you know, like retro shows, just kind of crazy. It was awesome. And yet, I don't know. You know, it was wild. But within about 5 years, my dad took out a line of credit and we got it and put in what you see now. So
really?
It's basically like 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So like, did you guys have to like did you guys take like pretty much everything apart and just install?
It didn't take much to take it apart.
Yeah.
Did not take much. The demo guys were like, this was easier than we thought. You're like, okay, cool, awesome. And then got everything fabricated and moved in. And if you had to get that made now with the price of steel and fabrication and the lack of people to design it these days, I don't even know how much that would cost. I think it cost about $150, $200 back in the day. It'd be about $450 probably
like
now. Yeah, with all the compressors and electrical, and yeah, that's a lot.
Hey guys, quick word from our sponsors here. So this episode is brought to you by Olive and Ciboulette lobster oil. So what this is pretty much an olive oil, except it's lobster infused. What can you use lobster oil with? Well, let me tell you right now, you can use it for salad dressing, sauces. You can pan-sear with it. You can marinate with it. You can pretty much do anything you want with olive oil, except this is lobster infused. If you want to check us out, you can check us out at www.oliveandciboulette.com. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, and back to the show. So in the mall, there's like a white spot. There's that Chinese restaurant cooking thing where you
pick and choose,
pick and choose, sorry.
Which used to rock.
Okay.
That used to be like the smoking, like especially when Atkins came out and all the brokers who just did nothing but drink and smoke and whatever, and they found out that protein will save your life. No. But they used to go there and load up, and it's weight-based. Right. So that place was just slamming all the time. We always compared ourselves to that.
Yeah.
The volume of that one little slip, and how times have changed.
Yeah.
Right?
What's changed since then? Like, cause like, I mean, obviously it's busy when I go every so often, but like, was it busier back then? Like, was it more lively? Like, what were the people like when you started that shop there?
It was active all the time because honestly, let's be blunt about this. I mean, I've been down there. Oh God, this sounds horrible. I've been down there when internet wasn't a thing, when credit debit wasn't a thing. Like we had 2 cash registers because we just had to handle the cash flow, right? Stupid, but for that time. But it's amazing to reflect on those times because it was just so much more active. And you didn't have people taking pictures of your menu boards and like before cell phones. I remember when we all got our first cell phone. That was wild. We were like T9ing, texting each other like 40 feet away. Lame. I am so pathetic. Oh, I spelled pathetic wrong. Oh, fuck, who cares? You know? It was awesome.
Yeah. So, do you remember the first day? Like when you and your brother came in, was it just you two running it at the beginning?
Yeah.
And how long did you guys do that for?
We did it. The previous owner, Irene, was with us for a couple of months, and then she kind of jet. I mean, she's like, I'm kind of out of here. And then Ben was around, and he really, bless him, he did it because it was family and an opportunity. It was not his thing. Really, really wasn't his thing. He gave it a go, though. He was popular with the staff. I was not, because I was stressed out, and I had to do more of the physical making of the things. It wasn't his gig. So, yeah, it was just the two of us. Noobs. No direction. And a dad just supporting, you know, just like, yeah, let's do this. Really, zero direction at all.
And do you think, I mean, obviously, was your dad a bit of a motivator to get into that? Because, like, was it just you two being like, okay, let's get this business and get into it? Or was your dad also, like, I know you said he was, like, supporting you guys, but was he motivating you guys? Like, do you think you would have, like, stuck to it if your dad wasn't there for the beginning?
Wow. Dad really wasn't no, I think Dad was doing it because he felt like it would be a responsible thing to do for his kids. He was that guy.
Just being a good dad, really.
He was being a good dad.
Yeah.
You know? I'd always expressed that, wouldn't it be amazing? I worked down at Granville Island for many years going to Emily Carr, so we had all those little nooks and crannies and all the experience of all the vendors down there, and I dug it. It was great. And we would often, all of us in like a la mode and making pies and pastries, fantasize about having our own place. Wouldn't that be amazing? Not thinking that it would ever, you know, happen. And then the opportunity happened, and it just kind of like clicked together.
And I will say, like, I mean, I guess like back then it was probably different. I think people were more, I'll take the risk and go for the not for the money but for the goal. But you were 24 when you started, like when you got into that. Like how, like, do you think that like took a toll? Like obviously stress levels must have been pretty high. Maybe I don't know. Maybe back then you were different. I'm not too sure. Like, how did you handle your mental health? Like, were there like hard times during that at the beginning or in the first few years? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Personally, well, there was pedigree there because I didn't know that my mother was also really hard on herself a lot. And what she discovered is that I began being super rough on myself just as she had done, like not eating, like just, I think it's a female response to, if I control myself more, everything will work out better. No, it's self-abusive. It's awful. So you get into really bad habits and not basically taking care of yourself. So you're stressed out even more all the way around. My brother took a different approach. His live-work balance was a lot more, you know, he was a young guy living off the drive and, I mean, he dealt with it. But he had his own issues, like, you know, we all do. And he just would kind of check himself out. Mm-hmm. Easier. I was not able to do that. I would internalize everything and hurt myself, basically. You know, you can't not eat for a couple of days and think it's okay and know that it's okay. It's not okay. Yeah. It takes a terrible toll.
What was your relationship like with your brother and yourself when you were working there? Was it more like, okay, you do this, I do that, and like we don't talk, or we just talk like about business? Like, what was that relationship like?
Not good. Mm-hmm. Having grown up with parents going, Susan, get your brother at this time, pick him up, make sure he does his chores, all of that. I mean, come on. He doesn't like you from the outset. He shouldn't. It was horrible. It was bad. This was kind of like a chance for maybe it to change a bit, maybe grow together a bit. And what ended up happening is we really kind of discovered how different we are as opposed to joining for a mutual effort. He found his path in the shop, and I kind of discovered my path in the shop, and it did not go.
Was there a lot of arguments about things? Yeah.
What
what are some things that you guys would kind of go like back and forth about?
His approach, and I quote, like, I shouldn't have to do this. We have staff. And I'm like, we have to do all this for the staff. Like, we're doing this together. There's not 20 of us. There's 5. Like, we don't not do things because we have staff to do them. We do them because we're all putting in a full shift. So we just butt heads the whole time. And then, eventually I would stay longer and he wasn't around as much. And it's just that, and we were young. Mm-hmm. I very much doubt that if you sat with him now, his take would probably be different than mine, obviously, for obvious reasons. But his approach was different. Mm-hmm. And that's fair. That's fine. But it didn't mix well.
What was that conversation like when you guys kind of like split off? Like, did you guys like, have a sit down, go for like have a conversation, or was it kind of like you guys got in an argument and that was it? Like, what was that?
We had many conversations over many years, and it didn't go well. And then one day I think it was after his birthday or something, and he showed up hours and hours late. And he walked up to the door and he asked me, do I still have a job here? As if I would be the one. And I looked at him, I said, I don't know, do you? And he walked out. So in his mind, it was me being dismissive of him, which I was, because he was hours and hours late and we were trying to get on with it. But in my mind, I was once again asking, do you? Are you present here? What's going on? Not that I really wanted to know. And he walked, and then all of my insides kind of went, oh my God, like that finally happened. Mm. But that was also a much better situation down the road, Yeah. And he's done well. As a human being, he's done really well for himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when's the last time you spoke to him?
It's been years.
Do you guys don't try to reach out to each other at all? It's more like a separate thing?
No,
or?
he's got his thing and I've got mine. We lost our dad and it was quite cantankerous between the two of us directly afterwards because it's family stuff. And again, he's got his way and I had just lost my parent. I was really close to Dad. He was more close to my mother. And I'm sure he would, he'd say he was just as close to Dad, but he didn't live in province. So I was out of default really close to Dad. Mm-hmm. And it was tough on Ben at the end because he looked after my dad for a few months. And I'm very thankful that he did. Very thankful that he did. It was amazing.
Would you say, what are your thoughts on working, on a family business? Do you think it's better? Obviously, throughout the years, you've learned, less valuable lessons, I'm sure. But would you ever recommend, I guess everybody's different, but would you ever go back into a business with a family member at all? And if
myself?
So, yeah, with yourself, yeah. Do you recommend that? Is that something you'd do again? Or is that kind of a thing off the table now? If you look back.
Yeah, for me, no. It's like lending money to your best friend. It's like lending money to your best friend's best friend. There's going to be that thing between you. Mm-hmm. And even hopefully it all works out well. It's like doing very important things with people and you're so psyched and you have that thing where you're worried they're not as psyched as you are. It's a tough feeling.
Yeah, I feel like running a business, you got to be on the same page and be very motivated and, have a great team and just make sure you guys both see the end goal or at least the same path because you mentioned, you guys going in both different directions. That's just causes arguments and that's that takes a dent on your relationship.
It's a fire. You can feel it and it never goes away until it's done. Until it's done, it doesn't go away. Mm-hmm.
So what was hiring your first staff besides your brother, obviously, how did you find staff back then? Was it just you and him doing it from the beginning or did you guys hire a staff member right away? What was that from the...
There was staff already there. They didn't last very long. There were a few staff already there. They didn't last very long.
No? Why is that?
No, because I was different.
Yeah.
We were different, and then honestly, it was like placing ads in the newspaper. Can you even imagine? Calling the newspaper and going, okay, I have to, and talking to a woman at the other end of the phone going, this is what I want to say in the ad and the whole thing. Craigslist is so convenient now. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful how things have changed.
How did you, was it all the old staff members that left eventually?
Yeah.
And why was that? Was it because they just didn't like your style of management or what was it you think?
The staff that she had there, she was if she wasn't there, the ship wouldn't run.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much. And she had a manager who was great, but he just wanted to do his own thing. You can't really have a manager at a shop with like 4 people. I mean, it's kind of weird. It was odd to me. But she would go down to Granville Island before work and get a bunch of things. And I'm like, I'm having this shit delivered. I'm not doing that. We're doing enough volume that we can actually, there's Cisco and GF, like there were all kinds of, Gordon Food Services, Neptune Foods back in the day. You can have the stuff dropped off. No, it has to be fresher in Granville Island. I'm like, no, I'm from Granville Island. Where do you think they get a lot of their stuff from? Like, we could get a lot more efficient with this. And there were the arguments. And then so her staff, basically, when she was gone, they'd start packing things up at like 1, 2 in the afternoon. And because they just didn't want to be there anymore. And we had to be open till 5. So they basically all just started to roll out, Mm-hmm. And my brother was great, again, with staffing. He was great with chatting with people. So he would go out and interview people, and I would chat with the occasional person, and we just kind of like started. It's tough. Mm-hmm. It's really tough. And every summer there would be a bunch of folks who would move into the city and, from Australia or the interior. And they want to go for it. And you were like, well, we're here. Let's do it,
Interesting. And what would you say, like, how is it now with, obviously with COVID and the last few years? Obviously Vancouver's changed as a city itself, right?
Yeah.
How do you find, like, finding staff now? Like, I know you have, like, a solid team right now, but, like, have they been with you for a while? Or are people, like, come and going every, like, year and a half? Like, what's that like for you guys?
They still do. That's always going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. It's you usually have 1 or 2 that stick around for a while, which is really nice, But you have to kind of enjoy the folks while you have them. And it's okay to really miss them, It's actually, it feels really good now when I've managed to find some really, really great women over the past couple of years that make life so much more enjoyable just because they have their own experiences and their own ways of handling things. It's great to watch. It's wonderful. And I miss them now. That's a great feeling, when you've had a chance to spend time with somebody that I'll never forget. Didn't always have that feeling before. But now I'm really enjoying it a whole lot more.
Is there people that you still, like, keep in touch till this day? Like some people?
Yeah, a few of them. Yeah. They've got kids and live in other parts of the world and are like, you should move here. It's like, oh, okay. And now, like, my partner, he's from the States. So we've got extraneous family, all over the States as well. And they're just like, why don't you come down here? Like, they're in Nashville and New Jersey and Ohio. Ohio's interesting. It's huge. Michigan's wild. Like, there's so much out there that I want to do.
Right.
It'd be great.
Yeah. Would you ever, like, now that you're a business owner, maybe it's a little bit different, but, like, would you ever just take, like, some time off and just, like, what are your dreams? Like, what are your goals? Like, are you wanting to run this business, like, forever, and then, like, I'm not sure if you have kids or not.
Yep.
Or, like, you want to pass it down or sell it? Like, what's, like, your future goals for life?
It'd be awesome to have the chance to sell and, share whatever I've learned with someone else and give that opportunity to someone. The people that now own Bentall, the 2 main guys are from Vancouver, but the company is based in California. And they have plans. They have big plans, as they should, because they bought a property that used to be Gold Star. It isn't now. It's been kind of run down. The week they took possession, they were power washing the outside of the towers. And I was standing there going, oh, yeah. Wow, it's been 30 seconds. Good on you guys. Okay. And they were walking through the malls, like, checking and going, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You, yes. And got engineers double checking that they got what they paid for and the whole thing. They have big plans for the property. Big. Whether or not that involves everyone that's still in it to win it down there, that's going to come from them. There's always conversation. They want to move us to a different spot on the property. They're developing aspects of the property that has never even really been thought of before. And there are now tenants saying, ooh, can we do this? And there are further plans that whole property is going to change. 10 years from now, it's going to be quite the destination.
Like, what do you think? Like, is it just going to be like a mall, or like what kind of, like, what do you think?
I think it's going to be more than, they've got development challenges ahead of them, but plans. There's a lot. And It was a lot more incentivized about a year or two ago before COVID, and the rates have really increased, and now all the construction companies are triple booked, and like obviously whatever plans they have are going to roll forward, but the playing field has changed a bit. So I'm kind of in limbo, you know. I'm going to give it everything I've got until they tell me no, or they give you notice saying 6 months from now we're going to move you, or or at least give you the chance to open up somewhere else. Who knows? I have no idea.
Like, would you be excited for them to move? Like what are your thoughts on, like, again, like that's like future plans, future talks, but like, would you want to move in a different location in that area? Like, how would that make you feel if that was the case?
I like the area, but I have a location where I can see outdoors, It's there. You've got the courtyard. It's a great spot. You can see when the weather changes. You can see, how busy it is on the street. You can see people enjoying the outdoor space. It's beautiful. It's really, really nice. I don't think food should be underground. I mean, look at Metrotown. Look what they did. They put their food court up on the roof. Why would you want all that venting snaking through a building? Why would you want venting from fryers underground? It's the most ridiculous thing. It's antiquated. It's what they used to do, thinking it would be convenient. It's not convenient. So having food street level, daylight, it brings in atmosphere. It makes people want to come and hang out. So I don't know ultimately what they have planned for the structure of the food stamp that they own now, but there is so much change going on. Like, we can see it because so much is closed, and you can see they're putting up partition walls and things everywhere. It would be interesting, but I really wouldn't want to go underground. Yeah. No.
Well, it's also like, working inside all day. Like, you want a bit, like, you want to see like the outside, like you're saying. Like, obviously it's great to see it being busy, but like, being able to see the sun or the rain or whatever.
Just
like
life.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at life out there. Look, there's a car wreck. It's great. Perfect. Oh, that's too bad,
Yeah. No, and it's a great location. What's your relationship with all the other vendors in the food court? Like, are you guys kind of all friends, or is there a bit of drama?
No, there's no drama. No, we're all small business strugglers. You're just, trying to survive. COVID really knocked the wind out of a lot of people's sails. A lot. Like, there are some people down there that don't have staff anymore. It's just the couple.
Right.
They can't even wrap their heads around bringing anybody else in. So I don't know how they're paying the rent that they're paying, but they're just getting through it. A lot of them are just getting through it. They're not doing anything new. They're not bringing in anything new. You can see it. It's kind of unfortunate. And they can kind of see and feel that change will happen. How that affects them, I don't know, but you don't see a lot of hey, Yeah. And I figure you kind of have to be like that if you want to bring in new people, because there are people coming and going all the time. Right. I can't rely on the construction guys all the time, because they're going to finish the building, whichever building they're building, Got to bring in new people.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's just how you look at it, right? Like, you got to look at it at a broad perspective. What I was going to ask is, like, tell me a little bit more on, like, the menu. Like, how did you start the menu? How did you, like, how did you start the menu? Like, pretty much. Was it you came in, you're like, okay, they already have sandwiches, we're going to keep that up and add things as we go? Like, how does your thought process go throughout that?
It used to be all sandwiches, whatever kind of bread goes stale really fast. It's boring too. And then way back when, we got a panini grill, which was awesome. And it sucked. It was not good. They're much better now. And I thought, well, we can do wraps too, can't we? Like, that'd be good. And they hold everything. It's not as messy. We can raise the prices a bit and give bigger portions. That's better. We can have more variety. And then I thought, well, what can you put in a wrap? And you kind of look around. You either go the bean rice way, or you spend the extra money and just go, well, it's a sandwich. So it costs a little bit more because it's in a wrap, but it's good. And then just start wrapping my head around, well, what can we put in there? What would I want to eat? And I kept thinking, like, all the bean spreads. Let's make lots. And all the mayos. How many different mayos can we make? And all the vegetables. Can we make vegetable salads? Can we put vegetable salads in there? And I remember one staffer at one point, she goes, okay, we can't, there's nothing more we can do here. And I said, no, there's so many more things we can do. So it changes regularly. We used to have like 3 kinds of shrimp salad because shrimp salad was really popular. I mean, it was that was a lot of shrimp. And then there was one year that almost a whole year that avocados were awful. We're so subject to distribution from the United States. That really pisses me off. I don't know why we can't. I know why we can't, actually, because people own patents to grow stuff locally and they're not using them.
Is that actually why? Like, is that?
Yeah, I befriended a guy who was a broker, and him and his partner, because they've all got side deals, they grow spinach indoors in Ontario. His name is Jerry. I don't go, Jerry. Great guy. He was a Saskatchewan guy, like whatever. If you buy spinach in Ontario, you're buying it from Jerry and his partner. And then they got the strawberry contract, the patent to grow strawberries. And we're not talking hothouse, just inside, like this room. And it's so equitable and it's so environmentally friendly. It's inherently organic. It's wonderful. This is what we should be doing here, everywhere, on the rooftop of every parkade, right by the stadiums. Do we need another casino? Just grow romaine, green onions, everything. We should be eating more here. We get it all. I got red peppers from Spain the other day. Is that a thing? Why? Just say you don't have any. Sorry, we don't have any red peppers. I know you want them, but we don't have. They're coming from Timbuktu. I don't want them from Timbuktu. If you don't have them within North America, I don't need them. Nobody needs them. But we've gotten so used to it. That's what's really affecting so many menus around town. I mean, it's just really hard to source. Mm-hmm. But that promotes change on my menu anyways, If you don't have anything for about 6 months, adapt or die.
Right.
We haven't had romaine in, Jesus, man. It's got to be at least 6 months.
Really?
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Came up with so many other things. Nobody cares. No one cares.
Yeah, because I will say, like again, I just started going to the sandwich shop, and there's so many different options. Like, you guys have like 5 different wraps with like literally like 6 different aioli or like different mayos, and it's just like so amazing, so refreshing. And I'm gonna say it is so affordable. Like, I'm like so like curious to, like, obviously we don't have to talk about like numbers and things like that, because obviously margins are obviously pretty low, right? It's like very, right? So you would know that, but it's just like, I remember when I bought my breakfast sandwich and it was like $9 or $10, whatever it was. And like, I know the first time you give me a discount, but the second time I was just like, so like amazed, because it's like I go to like, I hate Tim Hortons. I absolutely hate it. My stomach, I can't eat.
There's no flavor.
Yeah. But it's
weird.
Just not healthy. Like I remember like I did this challenge where I was like eating clean for a bit. And like I was eating so...
It's a challenge. It's not a lifestyle. It's a challenge.
Well, it was part of a challenge. I was supposed to do that, but then like I kind of failed it. But I ate like for a month of like clean food, like no fast food. Like I'm a big Big Mac guy. I didn't eat any Big Macs or McDonald's.
That's easy to slip into too.
Yeah, I know.
I'll just have a 4,000 calorie thing. It's gonna be great.
So good.
No worries.
But like it's just the ingredients are just so fresh, and like going to Tim Hortons or something different, like being not used to that, like taking a break from like that horrible, not disgusting, but chemical designed food. Like, it just makes you so like, I don't know, bloated, and just like, and it's easy to get stuck in that, because like I was a victim of that. Like, I mean, my dad's a chef and loves cooking. I always had great food, like always like 5-star meals at home.
Yeah.
But it's just like, there's so much junk out there, right? So it's like how do you, like, obviously when you design your menu and things like that, are you trying to source mostly from all local areas? Like, what's your thought process? Like, it's like, okay, like this, like the romaine's not here anymore. Like, do you try to come up with an idea right away, or like, how do you adapt?
Right away.
Yeah.
100% right away. Mm-hmm. And you have to ask, where are the cucumbers from? Where are the peppers from? I didn't ask where the peppers are from, so that's on me. They're like, absolutely, we'll send you that. But coming up with new things is the most exciting. It's the best part of everything. I love food. I don't like shit food. I'm not going to be a snob about it. Like, I remember Katie Lang, famous vegetarian, did a recording session, and Loretta Lynn, the famous country star, was part of the recording session and brought bologna and cheese sandwiches. And Katie Lang was like, absolutely, I had a bologna and cheese sandwich, because Loretta Lynn brought them. Right. Absolutely. You got to take care of yourself. But you like what you like. I mean, I ate most of an 18-inch pizza last night. I don't feel bad about it. I feel pretty good about it. I went to the gym 5 times last week. Fuck it. I drank a lot of wine last night. That's fine. I don't care. Enjoy it. But when you just said, like, all those words, victim, bloated, like all those things pertaining to consumption, you know, if it doesn't pick you up, it's going to weigh you down. And you have something to compare it to. You have all of those wonderful moments of, like, your dad being a chef. Not many people have that. They just get used to what they're used to. Big Macs are addictive, though. Look out.
They are, and they're coming out with a
McChickens are addictive too.
I saw they just posted an ad. We're doing a Big Mac with the McChicken patties inside.
Oh, that's hell.
I know. I'm like,
don't.
I know. I'm gonna try because I'm curious.
Fuck those guys.
But I'm gonna try because I'm curious. But yeah.
Yeah, you're curious. You already know exactly what it's gonna taste like. You're like, I can feel it right now. You know what it's gonna taste like.
I know.
And you can get the little. I remember the moment this like schleppy like dude. Oh god, you know you can get packets of McChicken sauce. What? What is this sorcery? You can get packets of McChicken sauce. What do I need with McChicken sauce when I'm getting like already a McChicken? Can I get a packet of McChicken sauce, please? Just because I wanted it. That's the whole thing. You want the Coke from McDonald's because they have their own patented way of dispensing the Coca-Cola. They have that machine. It tastes better.
They do.
They make it taste better.
They do have really good. I haven't had like a Coke like in so long, just because it messes with my stomach now that I don't drink it anymore. But they do have
Diet
very
Coke?
good.
Do you drink Diet Coke?
I never. No. It's
My
Coca-Cola.
guy is a Diet Coke guy. He's not a coffee guy. Yeah.
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke
I was a Coca-Cola guy. Big root beer guy.
Isn't that weird? A&W sugar-free root beer all through high school, and Pepsi.
Sugar-free?
Diet Pepsi. Yeah.
Did it taste the same? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, good for them.
Although, what do I know? Like, whatever. Yes, it tastes the same. I don't know. Everyone's different. To me, it tastes the same.
Yeah. And I don't want to like kind of divert from like your business and everything, but how has Vancouver changed in like the food scene from like your perspective? Like, been here for a while. Like, what are some things that have changed? Like, I'd love to hear your stories or your thoughts on that.
You used to see restaurants open, you know? You used to see restaurants open with steak and fish and like proteins and rooms and lighting and familiar people. And now there are people who open most new restaurants. I mean, you see like the Daily Hive and all the new restaurants opening, and it's a different format because it's lower operation costs. It's ice cream. It's waffles. It's noodles. It's convenience. We bake it elsewhere. We send it to the location. They sell it. Brecca is beautiful. Beautiful bakery. Slutty good baking. Really good baking. And they know what they're doing. They're moving things around. Look at Burgoo. Each Burgoo restaurant makes various items on their menu, and then they run them around. That's what Nuba does as well.
Those are good spots. Like Brecca,
they're good.
I'm a big fan of Brecca, and they're actually so affordable too. Like it's like so reasonable. Like you go to all these others, like I get it, rent is expensive, and you know Vancouver is a city for the rich. You know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money, right? That a lot of spending and things like that, and you go to like all these other bakeries. Like again, I'm a foodie. I know I've been to France. Like I get that, but like
you've
like,
had good dairy.
I've had good dairy. Yes.
And there is a defined difference.
And that's probably why. That's a different story for a different time. But like that's probably the reason why I'm lactose intolerant now, because I had it way too much. Anyway,
it's like if you're a kid, you have wicked allergies. Then you're an adult, and the allergies kind of fade away. For you, it's lactose.
No, it's crazy. Like I went to Southeast Asia for 3 months. Then I wasn't a huge dairy guy. Like I never drank milk. I had cereal when I was younger, but I was a big like cookie and milk guy. But besides that, like I didn't really drink milk. And then I went to Southeast Asia for 3 months. There's like no dairy there. And then I went to France for a month and a half or a month right after and just ate like brioches, pastries. And then I came back and then couldn't stop farting all the time, 20 plus times a day. I'm like, what the heck's happening?
It's like, how many protein shakes do you have in there?
Yeah, literally.
Like, yes.
And then it was funny at first, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to my girlfriend's house for dinner, and I really need to fart. I'm like, okay, well, I need to go for a walk, and then I get tested, and then they tell me I have a dairy allergy.
Yeah, I have a friend who went out with a vegan for about 2 years, and then he found out he's allergic to avocados, and I'm like, yeah, you've been a little squirrely for a while there, dude. And he's like, oh, I'm really allergic to avocados. And what else does a vegan have?
Right.
I mean, come on.
I mean, I have to say, though, like, nowadays being a vegan, like, you have it pretty good because there's, like, all these, like, social media pages you can follow. Lots of restaurants that are doing these options, right? Like, what's it called? Meat. Like, I absolutely love that place.
Look at the success of that.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Like, my dad, who's, like, a pretty well renowned chef like in the food industry, and like I took him there once. He's like, it's vegan. Like he's not against it at all, but
No.
it's just like, oh, I'm not gonna eat vegan. I'm like, Dad, come to this place.
He's French.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And we had like the mushroom calamari like star. He's like, this tastes exactly like calamari. I'm like, yeah, wait until you try this. And he was like, mind blown. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, Dad, like this
But,
is crazy.
I mean, if you want really good, sexy vegan food, it's heavy.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there because they're craving.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with vegan individuals at work, and I end up buying so much peanut butter because they just eat a lot of high fat and a lot of sugar. You know, they're not the tiniest humans, really, unless they're working out 24/7. You know, and have got stock in Lululemon or something like that.
Yeah.
But they eat a lot of processed stuff
Yeah.
because it's everywhere because it's so convenient and it tastes just like na. You know. But my guy, he loves vegan jerky, the bean. And I'm like, yeah, because it's all salt and sugar. Duh. I mean, he puts in he's like, this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, it's easy to eat.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then there's also like, not to get too into it, but it's like, it's like, hey, like, why are you being a vegan? Is it like to help the planet or like just for your health? And like, also it's like, if it is for saving the planet, like where are you sourcing all these products from? Because there's also that dark side of things that everybody fell into. Like I remember when I watched this documentary, what was it called? It's called not Meat Eaters, or was it like, I don't know, it was about sports. And like, it's like these crazy athletes that are on just vegan diets and how like
Was
they
it Schwarzenegger in that?
No, he wasn't.
there's
No,
another
but he's
one.
vegan too. He's been a while now actually. But I got into the phase of like I'm gonna eat, which is healthy for you actually, to eat like a vegan day. Like
Oh,
once
I know
a
lots
week.
of people that do that.
You know what I mean? And like I remember at one point there was a month where I was like having like vegan food like 3 times, 4 times. I was like, wow, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But then after I'm like, oh, I kind of miss the old.
You feel a little hollow after a while.
Yeah.
Only because, you know, my dad was Dutch and my grandmother was cheese and meat. Yeah, all the time. And if you didn't finish it, she'd wrap it up in smaller and smaller little bowls in the fridge and then just whip them all out the next meal too.
Yeah.
So you just end up eating all the cheese and all the meat and all the bread and all the things.
What was your most memorable dish from when you were a kid that you would have with your family?
I remember there were very few times that my dad's mom, we would all get together. She had 5 sons. And there were very, very few times that she would get all of us together. And from Holland, they have a big Indonesian crowd. So ginger and pork and fried bananas, plantains, and all, like hot ginger. All these things got into the Dutch culinary scene. Still there, huge. And she would make what she calls bami, or they called bami, which is vermicelli noodles with fried pork and fried bananas on the side, tons of ginger with celery and onions and carrot. It's the most simple thing. And Maggie, the bouillon.
I don't know what that is.
This is a weird gesture.
It's okay.
It's just like a seasoning. It's a vegetable bouillon. And you can get, it's like OXO basically. But it really does amp flavor of things. And I don't know if it's MSG. It probably is, which is just a super salt anyways. I have the voice of my partner in my head. MSG, it's just super salt. I'm like, okay, fine. But it really is delicious. And she would make big pots of this like pasta, basically. And you can't stop eating it. It's ridiculous. But it's pretty much and that was a no pressure meal. But because we were kids of divorced parents, every time that there was an event of a meal or a thing, it was pressure and it was stress. So we didn't like the holidays. I didn't. It's not an enjoyable time. And then having your mom go, what did your dad do for you? What did your dad, I mean, come on. The holidays, big events, food events weren't enjoyable because there was more pressure. But those times with all of my uncles and the whole thing and pasta everywhere flying in the air, those were wicked.
So if you, let's say like there's someone, because you've been in Vancouver for quite a while, so I'm sure you know a lot of good spots and things like that. Let's say there's a tourist that comes here or like a friend that you haven't seen in a while that hasn't been to Vancouver yet. Like what would be the spot that you would recommend for them to go try out?
Oh, there's so many now. I don't know.
Give me top 3. I'll be nice.
You'll be nice?
Well, because usually people say once and it's like, it's unrealistic. So I'll be nice. I'll give you 3.
Oh, boy. Everything's really changed because of COVID. That's tough. I would more recommend that they go walk through neighborhoods and find a place. And it's weird because you wouldn't recommend often that tourists kind of get off the beaten path too much, but they really dig it. They love the buses. They all because we see them downtown in the summertime and they get a day pass. So I'm like, go to the Fraser Hood. Just get on the Fraser bus and go to Pizza Carano. Go. You'll love it. And they come back and they're like, bells and whistles is really fun. And they like walking around the suburb, you know, they get more of a sense of Vancouver. One guy came back and he goes, Kingsway's kind of rough. And I'm like, well, it's going to be redeveloped. Don't worry about that. It's going to be fine. He goes, but the noodle houses were really good. I'm like, see? Beautiful. But Salvia Lope is a great place. That's wonderful. Like you won't get better food. That little corner on Fraser, it's beautiful, you know. And you can, I mean, Poorhouse is always a nice place to go and have a glass of wine and something to eat at the bar. Mm-hmm. But the independent places are great, you know. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And what do you like? Obviously Vancouver, it's you know, it's a pretty well diverse like food city, right? There's lots of like, you know, Asian culture, a bit of Italian. You go on commercial, like so it's quite the mix, like. But also at the same time, like there's so many, like, well, so many, I'm naming just really a few, but like, you know, Cactus Club and Joey's
locally
and
developed
Earl's.
chains.
Like what are your thoughts about, like, what are your predictions from like your perspective? Because you've seen Vancouver change. Yeah. Right? What do you think? Do you think there's going to be more like small and pop restaurants popping up, or do you see Vancouver eventually turning into like way more of those types of chain restaurants?
Oh man. Well, Earl's now owns Cactus Club.
Right.
It's the Fuller family, mm-hmm. you know, and good for them, you know. Locally developed chains like Joey's, which has really got this image, like it's a big bougie thing in California. It's hilarious.
There's Joey's in California?
There's Joey's in California.
I didn't know
There's
that.
Joey's on the Kardashian show.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know. I guess I gotta.
Britney Spears was filmed recently in a Joey's having a moment, and I know this because I go on the YouTube channels because I'm not on socials anymore, and I'm like, this poor girl's stressed out, man. She's probably bored and stressed out and a little crazy. And she was filmed in a Joey's. So rude. Can you imagine having a personal moment and somebody holding up their phone? It's disgusting. Yeah. But yeah, they're everywhere. But they're huge restaurants. I don't know how they're paying for the square footage. I mean, obviously, you look at the price point on your plate, you can see. But each restaurant usually has 3 managers too many, right? Because they want to incentivize people staying. So they promote from within, because they lose a lot of staff too. Because that's where a lot of the brokers back in the day would get all of their assistants, from Cactus Club.
Oh, okay.
You could see it. They're everywhere. You know, commercial real estate guys, they'd hire, you know, and it's like an ongoing interview. And good on them, man. You get some really good people by just talking to people who are already working and incentivized to do a good job. Why wouldn't they? Makes sense. But these are big locations paying huge bills. I can't even imagine what they pay to WorkSafe BC every year. I can't imagine how expensive their business license is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm a small 500 square foot place, and my business license is getting up to $600 a year for just being allowed to be open. Can you imagine what Cactus Club down at the waterfront?
How's that based? Like, how do they, like, is it by size? Like, how does that work?
Size, location, what you sell. Like, there are whole things. Then there's also $150 a year environmental tax thing, which I'm like, what is that? They're like, I don't know.
Trying to make
I have no idea, because my building has a massive recycling program, so we're already paying for that, and then the city has their own layer, right? But no one's an island, so we all have to participate. Right.
No, you're right. That's a good mindset to look at. Like, I mean, you kind of have to, I think.
I remember being in a strata meeting once at one of my old places, and we had to replace the roof. And there was a guy on the second floor. He was all those in favor. The whole room goes like this, and then one guy goes like this. And I'm like, okay, doesn't want a roof that works. Okay, it sucks, but I get it. And the guy in management, he goes, okay, there's one nay. Oh, can I just ask why? And he goes, well, I don't live on the roof, so I don't know why I have to pay for it. And I'm just like, you live in the same house as everybody else. That's why you have to pay for it. He couldn't wrap his head around it at all. Poor dude.
Yeah, poor him, honestly.
Poor dude.
And then kind of going back to, like, obviously, you know, COVID, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, slightly. Like, we're trying to get back on our feet here. How was your business, like, during that time? Like, because I actually just started working in the neighborhood 6 months ago. I'm like still new I'm walking down the halls trying to discover Bentall a little bit more. I mean, it's not that big, but I'll be honest here. But,
Pretty empty. I'm waiting for somebody. I saw a guy in an electric scooter go through the mall once, and I went, buddy, there's no one around.
Yeah, you
why
can just
not?
rip around, actually.
You see security going, I don't think so. Like, no.
They're pretty nice there, honestly. It's a good group of
yeah.
people. But how was it during COVID? Like, were you guys open the whole time? Like, how did that work? Like, was they allowed you guys to be open and things
We're
that?
We're takeout, and I was the only one in the shop, and my guy's a carpenter, so we built every partition known to man, which I've kept some of them because it's just safer. It's safety for your staff is tantamount these days. Like they have to not only be safe but feel safe, and it's really helped with that entire process. But I never closed. I just stayed open and did what I could for months, and then gradually brought people back in.
And do you use like third parties like Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats and things like that? Like how did you like get customers coming? It was just like people just
There were a few weeks it was just me in the post office that was open. That was it.
You in the post office? Like you got the whole building?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That was it.
Wow.
There was no one around.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I'd go in and go, okay, I'm doing this. Let's do this. Let's just do this. Okay. And I would mop the floor every night and put everything away every night and get it all, And it was a lot. But I'm like, I'm going to get through this. When the option is you don't have one, you just do it,
Right.
But that walk out of the building at the end of the day, usually to get a bottle of wine at the liquor store, but it was just that feeling that you're just in the air going, oh, God, Christ. Oh, God, Christ, I got through that. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Just like another day of making it really.
Yeah. Still here. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was gonna say another question, but what do you think your employees say about you? Like, what kind of boss do you think people would think
she's
about
nuts. I'm loud for one thing, and they're like, fuck, there she goes again. And I'm doing so many things all the time that I make mistakes and go, did I just do that? Jesus Christ. And sometimes I can hear them. Oh God, oh man. And that's true. But we actually have a relationship where they'll be like, no, stop it. And that's okay. And sometimes I am just there too much. I'm there 10 hours as opposed to 6 or 8. But when I leave, they just do what they want. It's good. It's good. But if you are running a busy spot as a single individual and you're doing payroll and ordering and dealing with four emails a day from management or whoever, and the phone never stops ringing, it builds. And they don't have to do it. They kind of check out on that. They'll just hand me the phone and stuff. But it wears on you after a while. And there are moments, and I'm like, sorry about that. They're like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like, I'll forget something. I forgot payroll for the first time in 21 years. A couple of months ago. And Layla came in and going, Sue, sorry, I didn't get my check this morning. I went, what? Oh my God. I actually forgot payroll for the first time, which is fine. I just sat down and did it. But I went, oh man. And she goes, no, there's a lot going on. She has a high voice. That's okay. There's a lot going on. I'm like, buddy, I forgot payroll. Like, come on, man. I've never done that before. But what are you going to,
So how do you manage your day to day? Like, I mean, obviously your employees doing like the front end of stuff and like maybe chopping some things, but like you mentioned, you have like so many things going on. Like, how do you manage your day? Like, how does that
quickly
work? Yeah,
that's it. You just get used to it. Quickly.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, like, so when COVID came, like, did you have a lot of staff on? Like, how did you, like, manage that? Like, how did that work out for you guys?
Yeah, no, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot of tears, a lot of, like, standing in the kitchen going, what the fuck? Because the programs, obviously, the government of Canada did a lot for everybody. We are so better off. And I say this because I know people in the States that basically got nothing. I'm amazed that country is still up. Well, actually, they're fighting with each other, so no. The United States is on fire. Let's just be honest about that. But I'm so proud of what the government has done for everyone here. It hasn't been great, and it isn't great. It's not perfect, but everyone got a check. Everyone got a check. Businesses got checks. Mm-hmm. Anything you could apply for, you apply for. And we all made it. It's amazing. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
For shame people that would walk around and complain about masks and stupid shit. Come on, you got to check for $2,000. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's offensive.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. And like, kind of to wrap things up just a little bit, like if you can go back from like when you first started opening the shop, like what is some advice that you'd give to like your younger self?
Oh wow. Sit with somebody who's doing it. Not what you want to do, but how you want to do it. I don't care if it's a different retail, because if we're talking about retail, we're talking about retail. Sit with somebody that's doing it, that loves doing it, and get them to talk and see how their day's going and see how they hire people and see what kind of work-life balance they have. It's important. Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, you see people working in film and they work with people who do what they want to do. They're like, I want your job. They're like, well, then go after my job. I dare you. Do it. And that's how they keep going. Retail's pretty much the same thing, mm-hmm. pretty much. But Vancouver's changing quickly. I mean, we've now got triple net leases going on. It's brutal. You got the city telling people who own restaurants and retail they aren't allowed to put roll shutters in the front of their shops to protect their shops because they're worried about the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Well, how worried are you about I think a new mayor, the one that we have, it will be a better situation because he is a retailer. So that's one thing mm-hmm. that we have. But come on. We have to take care of retail. This latest budget came out, and there's nothing for small and medium business. Nothing. Nothing. We now have more stats than ever before. We have 5 paid vacation days, and small and medium business got nothing in the budget. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Not one.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
So if you want to do it, go and talk to somebody who has done it and is doing it. And I don't care if they have a bunch of partners. You know, because I just want to do it by myself. Well, maybe that's not the way to do it. Because I never got a chance to do that, and I think it would have really helped out.
So kind of find like a mentor, or like not just a mentor, but someone that's really heavily involved and really get a picture of what it's really like instead of just jumping in. Because there's nothing wrong with jumping in, but I mean, you probably want to stack all your odds in your favor, right? Like trying to learn as much as you can, right? So.
And then you get to meet people too. Like you've got, back in the day, you've got the people who opened up the Cobalt and the American and now Heroes Welcome and Wild Things and they're all intertwined, and they all got to meet each other through working. And these are very dynamic people, and they're extraneous. They go out there and they check out things, and they open East Side Flea. They do these things. My life went different. I did it with family. And then I'm now in a position where I'm not going to lose what I have. The only way I'm going to lose it is if the property changes. So I'm just doing what I'm doing because I've always had it, and I don't want it to go by the wayside. Yeah. And it's a good quality of life. But I never stopped working. But that's okay. I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you manage your work-life balance? Like what do you like to do on your off times? Because you guys aren't open on the weekends.
Nope.
So what do you do on the weekends?
I make a lot of things. I do. I'm one of those like fidgeters. I'm like crafty girl, I guess you could be. I'm a bedazzler. You just end up making things and doing things, and our house looks like Pottery Barn on acid. It's fun. I love doing things and checking things out, and I've got friends who open little independent shops, and it's great. But my guy works on weekends occasionally too. Like we're basically always working. Mm-hmm. So at some point that'll end. I don't know. We might just be staring at each other in a room going, should we get a dog? I mean, I don't know. What do we do now? What do we do? Do we adopt people? Like, what's going on? I don't know. What's happening now? But it's pretty much, we're in the zone right now. We're working. Yeah.
And yeah, like I feel like when you're running a business like that, like you're obviously an entrepreneur, and like it takes like a certain character to get to where you've gone right now. Like 21 years later? How long has it been?
29.
29 years. Like it takes a certain personality to get to where
stubborn.
You are. It's stubborn maybe, but also just like really focused, and like let's be real. Like do you think you're like, when do you think you'll ever retire? Are you thinking you'll ever retire?
When they show me the door.
When they show you the door.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, I mean, I've saved, and I have a financial planner. Yeah. Her name's Emily. She's lovely. And she sets me on, like, she goes, okay, so if this happens this year, this is how far you're going to be out until you can claim that and you can, have that and whatever. And the structure is very important. Because, you can have a great week, but you have to know where the money has to go. It's a lot. But, I'd love to have a smaller place in my neighborhood, where I could just walk to the shop and just be like, I want to make some crazy cookies. Let's go. And just like walk down the street and do it. Yeah. I would love that. I live right near Emily Carr, and so the whole area is changing quickly. I don't know what kind of leases will come up with all the new buildings that they have planned, but boy, it'd be fun.
Do you keep your eye open for those things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of the buildings that are going up, they're like, it's gonna be a brewery, and we're like, I don't want more beer. I want some food. Can we get some food here? It'd be great. Yeah. That'd be handy for the whole neighborhood and amenities, and to have the city care about that. I want a Kin's Market. That's what I want. We need more of that stuff. Convenience, but real convenience.
Right, and local.
Local. Yeah. Well, where are they going to hire people? Neighborhood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Supporting the community and helping everybody. And
yeah, supporting everybody. And maybe a few more kids running around. Mm-hmm. There used to be kids all over Vancouver. There used to be children all over Vancouver. Little tiny humans all over Vancouver. Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's changed now.
Yep.
Well, I had a great conversation. Is there anything else you'd want to share that we might have
No, I've done most of the talking.
Okay, I know that's my job, to let the job going. Do you maybe want to tell us where your shop is, the address, what the times that you guys are open at, so people can come visit you guys?
Sure. We're at 1055 Dunsmuir Street in Bentall Center, and it's off a big courtyard off Dunsmuir Street with umbrellas and all kinds of good times. And you walk in through the front doors and there's my shop, and there's usually very loud women, as you can imagine, and lots of lights and lots of music, and that's us, and lots of food, and we're open from 7 to 3.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and no I hope you enjoyed this as well.
This is fun.
Yeah, no,
not bad for a Saturday.
Great. Well, I'm happy. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on Table 604.